How's it going, gamers? Chongo here, and today I've got a gameplay commentary for you guys. The gameplay is of Call of War as Gunslinger on the PC, and today's commentary topic is about Ubisoft saying that they've ported the crew from PC to next-gen consoles. So let's get into it. So if you watched some of the stuff from this year's E3, you would have seen or heard about the crew if you're watching the Ubisoft's conference that they had, and to me this game seemed really good, because I'm not really fully into car games like that, it's just a personal preference, but this looks like a game I could actually play, so it seemed interesting. And one of the new interesting things that's come out about it is an article that basically said Ubisoft had ported the crew to the PlayStation 4, so basically it was first made on PC, which to people like me that's very different from the way things have been operating this generation, because for the most part it's usually developed for either the 360 or the PlayStation and then ported to other platforms and PC later on. I'm not really sure 100% why they decided to build it on PC first and then port it to next-gen consoles. My guess is just because I'm not sure how early Sony or Microsoft were giving out the development kits for these consoles. I can imagine it wouldn't have been too early, because you don't really want people to have something in their hands, especially if you're handing this out to multiple developers. Then there's more likely going to be, console leaks and all that kind of stuff. So my guess is maybe they didn't hand it out until a year or two before they actually announced the consoles. So maybe Ubisoft knew, obviously, that there was a next-gen coming, so they've already knew there was some new console coming out, and they probably had a basic idea for specs, but they probably didn't actually have the console itself, so therefore it would be easy for them, since they know that the architecture was like a PC, for them to go and make something on PC and then port it to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So this will be very awesome. I'm planning to get the crew on PC, so it's going to be interesting to see how different the versions are. I don't think you're going to see too much noticeable difference. The only main differences I can see is obviously better graphics on PC if they've got those settings, or maybe we might see a more streamlined approach because it is made just on PC. I'm not really sure, because it's very rare that you see something like this happen where something's developed for PC and ported somewhere else, unless the sole point of the game was to be on PC and then later on it's decided to go to next-gen consoles or consoles just in general. So for example, that's like Warframe and all that kind of stuff. So they didn't expect for that to go to consoles, but then it has. Now this may mean good things for PC players like myself, because we won't end up with crappy ports. For example, games like Batman Arkham City, I think I've mentioned that before, but that game was just horrid with frame rate. So it's going to be very interesting to see if other developers follow this path or have already begun following this path. So we might see a lot more high quality PC games taking everything that the PC has to offer. So I'm really looking forward to not having to play a bad port or something like that, and just know that this game was made on PC. So the first time they ran this, they didn't run it off a PlayStation, they didn't run it off an Xbox One, it was run on a PC, and they, worked it out and made sure it worked perfectly. So I'm not sure if this will be a current trend for future developers. My guess is it might be, because if you work in an environment like this, if you've got a massive team that knows how to work code on PC, it might be better for them to go ahead and do it that way. So just make a game completely on PC and then get the 2 to 3 people to port it over to next gen. That way you can have, the bulk of your studio working on that and only a few people working on porting it over. So it really depends on how, well adapted these studios are when it comes to whether it be, making a game for PC or next gen, or if they're used to the dev kits and they like them, or if they just want to make it on PC and then port it across later. Also, since there have been a couple of bad PC ports in the past, I don't think that when they port this to next gen consoles that they're going to have the same problems that PC ports have, just because consoles are usually a bigger market for developers, let's face it. They sell more copies than PCs do, dependent on the game obviously, but therefore they're going to try and make sure that this game, when it does come to next-gen consoles, is looking really good. So I'm hoping that just with this news we're going to end up with really good console ports that you're not really going to be able to tell is a port to begin with, and really good PC games. So I guess we'll have to see how that pans out in the future. Anyway, this brings me to the end of my commentary. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like, and if you've got any comments about this, put it down below, and if you want to join the Gamerhood, just subscribe. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.